Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and looking out your window. Something feels wrong. You blink, the beaches are gone, the waves have disappeared, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean. Every ocean on Earth has vanished overnight. Where there was once endless blue water, there is now nothing but an enormous empty landscape stretching farther than the eye can see. Millions of fish are stranded. Thousands of ships sit tilted on the exposed seabed. Whales the size of buses lie helpless on the ocean floor. But that's only the beginning. Because without the oceans, Earth itself begins to change in ways few people have ever imagined. What would happen if every ocean suddenly disappeared? Let's find out. The oceans cover about 71% of Earth's surface. They contain around 97% of all the water on our planet. More importantly, they regulate Earth's climate, support millions of species, and make life possible. Without them, Earth would become almost unrecognizable. The very first thing you would notice is the silence. No crashing waves, no tides, no seabirds flying over the coast. Instead, the coastline becomes a massive cliff leading down thousands of meters to the exposed ocean floor. For the first time in human history, people could walk across landscapes that have remained hidden for millions of years. Ancient river channels, massive underwater mountains, gigantic volcanic ridges, deep canyons larger than anything on land. It would be one of the greatest discoveries in human history, but it would also be one of the greatest disasters. Within minutes, marine life begins dying. Fish cannot survive without water. Neither can dolphins, whales, sharks, turtles, jellyfish, or coral reefs. Billions of sea creatures would perish almost immediately. The smell alone would become overwhelming. Entire ecosystems that took millions of years to evolve would disappear in a single day. The food chain would collapse. Animals that depend on seafood, including birds, seals, bears, and even humans, would soon begin facing food shortages. The oceans feed billions of people around the world. Without them, one of humanity's largest food sources disappears overnight. Then another problem appears. Earth's weather begins changing dramatically. The oceans act like giant heat batteries. They absorb sunlight during the day and slowly release that heat back into the atmosphere. This keeps temperatures relatively stable. Without oceans, there is nothing to balance Earth's climate. Days become much hotter. Nights become much colder. Some deserts would expand rapidly. Other regions could freeze during the night. Weather becomes far more extreme than anything humans have experienced before. Rainfall also begins disappearing. Most of the rain on Earth comes from water evaporating from the oceans. Without evaporation, clouds become much less common. Many rivers begin drying up. Lakes slowly shrink. Forests struggle to survive. Farms begin failing. Fresh drinking water becomes increasingly difficult to find. Within months, drought spreads across much of the planet. Then comes an invisible danger. The oceans produce around half of the oxygen we breathe. Tiny organisms called phytoplankton float near the ocean's surface. Although they are microscopic, together they generate enormous amounts of oxygen through photosynthesis. Without the oceans, these organisms disappear. At first, humans wouldn't notice much difference, but over time, oxygen levels would slowly decline while carbon dioxide continues increasing. Breathing would eventually become more difficult for every living creature. Meanwhile, scientists would rush to explore places no human has ever walked. The mid-Atlantic ridge would stretch across the planet like a giant underwater mountain range. Hydrothermal vents would finally be exposed. These strange places once supported life without sunlight. Scientists would discover thousands of new species that had never been seen before. Gigantic underwater volcanoes, ancient shipwrecks, lost aircraft, hidden caves. Perhaps even traces of civilizations swallowed by rising seas thousands of years ago. The exposed ocean floor would become the largest archaeological site in Earth's history. But one place would attract more attention than anywhere else: the Mariana Trench. Normally hidden beneath nearly 11 kilometers of water, it would finally be visible. Looking into it would be terrifying, an enormous scar in Earth's surface stretching into darkness. Scientists would finally examine the deepest place on Earth without using submarines. Creatures adapted to crushing pressure would now be exposed to an environment they could never survive. The mysteries of the deep would become visible for the very first time. As months pass, Earth's climate continues collapsing. Without ocean currents like the Gulf Stream, heat can no longer move around the planet efficiently. Some countries become unbearably hot, others become much colder. Storm systems disappear in some places while becoming violent in others. Global agriculture begins collapsing, food shortages spread across continents, entire economies fail, millions of people are forced to migrate. Eventually, Earth no longer looks like the beautiful blue planet seen from space. Instead, it becomes a dry world covered by endless valleys, enormous cliffs, exposed continental shelves, and the empty scars of ancient oceans. Astronauts looking down would barely recognize it. The famous blue marble would become a brown and gray world. Life would continue for some time, but without the oceans, the balance that has supported life for billions of years would slowly disappear. The oceans are far more than giant bodies of water. They regulate our climate, produce much of our oxygen, feed billions of people, support countless ecosystems, and hide some of the greatest mysteries on Earth. We've explored more of the moon's surface than the deepest parts of our own oceans. Perhaps that's why the ocean still feels so mysterious. It isn't just water. It's the system that keeps our entire planet alive. The next time you stand on a beach and watch the waves roll in, remember this. Without those oceans, Earth would be a completely different world, and humanity might never survive long enough to tell its story.